Well, it's so good to see you all stayed in here with me, and thank you for that. I thank you for wanting to spend some time with us here on a Saturday night on the Six Screens Telenetwork, because this is where ex Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk, and they've been talking here for 20 years. My name's Rick Farron. I'm out here in Chicago. I got my wife Susan with me. You notice it's not the studio up in Boston, but we are in a hotel in Chicago area in Naperville. It's about probably 25, 30 miles southwest of Chicago. And well, I'm glad you came in. And like I say, we've never missed a Saturday night. We do it from hotel rooms, wherever you might be. We also do it even from the emergency room of a hospital from time to time. We are here because you are here. It's a very important thing, folks. You know, when you're leaving the Watchtower, a lot of people need hope. A lot of people need encouragement. And that's what we try to do here. It's like a giant therapy session where you can come in and talk about your trek in the Watchtower. Now, if you're listening in and you're an active Jehovah's Witness and you do listen in, please don't head for the mountains. Stay with us here today because I know that you will find things very fascinating. We're not here to hurt you, we're here to help you. And right now, you're probably really thinking about what is going on in the Watchtower organization. Many of you Jehovah's Witnesses are disappointed. You're kind of upset to some degree over what's going on and what the governing body is now teaching. So stay with us. You're going to hear people calling in from pretty much all over the world, and they're going to be voicing their concerns on the Watchtower organization. Well, anyways, let's just talk a little bit what's going on. As I said earlier, my wife Susan and I, we had to come out here on a business trip to Chicago area. We live in Massachusetts, so we left a couple of days ago, and we would stop into Pennsylvania. Now, in Pennsylvania, that's where my father is. He's 103 years old. He's doing fine, doing very fine. And so I want to say that tonight as well. We love Susan and I love my father. And I'm so glad. I thank God every day that my father is still with me. I mean, I'm 79 years old, and I think that's a real privilege to be a 79-year-old man and have a father still living. So I thank God for that. And the other thing I wanted to say too is Susan and I have a clan. We call it a clan. I call it the Jehovah's Witness clan in Temple, Pennsylvania. Well, that is right near Reading, Pennsylvania. It's a nice little community. It really, really is. And I have got a sister who lives there. She's a Jehovah's Witness, and her husband is a Jehovah's Witness. And I've got a bunch of nieces and nephews. And my goodness gracious, I'm so excited. It's hard to even get the words out tonight. I'm so excited because it really, it really enlightened me this week. You have a lot on your mind. People are going places, doing things, but I'll tell you something that really stood out in my mind this week was meeting with the clan. Now, I have to say this: my family, my clan family, has not spoken to me for over 20 years. Now, maybe a little incidental, quick little bleep talk, nothing, no conversation I ever had with them. But something changed. Something changed this week that all of a sudden has put me in kind of a grandiose state. Let's go with that. So, what happened? Well, a number of things happened. Just to give you a little understanding here, my father, he lives in an apartment in the basement of his granddaughter's house in Pennsylvania. So that's where we visited him. And the witness granddaughter, she lives upstairs, like I say, and she has uh, four children, three children, and they would be my niece, nieces, and one nephew. Now, I never see them as children because I never saw them as little kids, to be honest with you. But anyways, this week, as I say, amazing things happened. They spoke to me Really, my grandson, not my grandson, but my nephew, he spoke to me about, well, last September, but just kind of briefly. But we had a pretty good little conversation the other night. I'm telling you, folks, I talk about Pimos on here, right? I'm telling you, the good part of my family down there is Pimo. Now you have to understand the psychology, the dynamics behind a Pimo. So those listening in that don't know what a Pimo is in the Jehovah's Witness world, what that acronym stands for is physically in, mentally out. And for those that don't understand, you really can't just quickly disconnect from the Jehovah's Witness religion. Your family, your friends, your relatives, everybody that's one of Jehovah's Witnesses will totally shun you. They will just avoid you like the plague. And that's what happens. Now, that was happening to me for over 20 years of my life here. And my own sister and relatives would not speak to me. But like I say, it happened this week. Now, just to bring you up to speed on this, uh, we got into some conversation. As a matter of fact, the my niece who lives upstairs from my father, she has been a Jehovah's Witness all of her life. She grew up in it, and her, well, I won't give her name on here, but anyway, she came down and spoke to us, and it was concerning my father's health. She's kind of like the caregiver. And so she spoke to us for a good part of 45 minutes. Now, that is something unusual. You're not going to get a Jehovah's Witness to speak with you for 45 minutes. I don't care what it would be, whether it's business, family, anything. Generally speaking, they clam up. They don't say too much. But for her to do that, it was unbelievable. And I'm going to have my wife, Susan, in just a few minutes here come in and tell you about it as well. But this was really shocking to me. And the reason why I want to come on tonight and even talk about it is because I want you folks out there, and you got to go with what I say here to some degree, because it's going to happen to you too. Very, very shortly, you are going to have relatives and friends that all of a sudden are going to speak to you. Now, these relatives and friends are your Jehovah's Witness relatives and friends, and they're going to come very shortly and speak to you. Now, I'm not trying to be a prophet here. I'm not trying to any way be a fortune teller. I'm just giving you the logistics of what's going on in this organization that's going to cause the Jehovah's Witness relatives and friends of yours to at least speak with you. And, we've talked about it here on the six screens numerous times here in the last few years. We tried to take some type of a survey on how many PMOs really are there, those that are physically in, mentally out in the organization. Friends, we have come up with a pretty sound minded calculation here of how many PMOs there are. We've got to say up to 4 million. Well, wait a minute, Rick. Wait a minute. There's only 9 million witnesses. So you're saying, Rick, are you saying that about half of the Jehovah's Witnesses are PMOs? That's exactly what I'm saying. I would say half. And I think the number might even be going up from here, to be quite honest with you. So all of a sudden, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised at all. I would say very shortly, maybe within the next year, you'll be getting a call from one of your PMO, Jehovah's Witness friends, relatives, family members, perhaps. It could happen. Now, look at this, isn't the only thing. I've been telling you guys right along here. In the last few years, I've had four of my other close family members get out and call me, actually say, Rick, I want to talk to you. Now, that is, hey, look at this. This is all happening in the last few years. I've been, Satan kicked me out of his organization, like I always tell you, back in 2005. And, for many years, it was like mute. Nobody was saying anything. But now all of a sudden, they're speaking up. So let me just bring Susan. Susan, I'm going to give you the phone here. You can just talk into the phone. They'll hear you. Here's the phone. You can speak right there. All right. So
Thank you.
yeah, hold on. Susan is my wife here, and she was there with me. Susan, am I a happy man or what?
Oh, just tremendously happy. This was not expected at all. We had to come to Chicago. I had some business to attend to, and it was an opportunity for us to stop in Temple, Pennsylvania to see Rick's dad because he's 103, and we didn't know how much longer he was going to be with us. So while we were there, he was to go to a doctor's appointment. So he asked us to do some errands for him, grocery shopping and going to Walmart and getting a water filter and things like that. And could we do that for him? Of course, we said yes. So while he was being taken to the doctor, we were doing these errands. When we came back, there was no one home. So Rick had some more errands to do. So I decided to just stay in the apartment that Rick's dad lives in. And I fell asleep. All of a sudden, out of a deep sleep, I hear this voice. Are you Sue? And I'm like, who are you? I didn't know it was his niece. It was Rick's niece, right? Niece?
Yes.
Your niece. And she told me that Rick's dad was in the hospice, being taken to the hospital, that he had gotten kind of woozy and fainted at the doctor's appointment. And we were concerned because when someone that old is not doing well physically, you need to get to the hospital. So, but what we couldn't believe is at that same time that she came to ask who I was, Rick came home. So she started talking to us about his dad. His dad had not been telling us the truth about how he was doing physically. And so we were kind of in shock about that information. But the point was, we're disfellowshipped. She knows this, but she was willing. She was not leaving. Usually their feet are pointing out the door as they're talking to you. No, she really wanted to talk with us about what was going on. And of course, we wanted to share what she was talking about because it's important. But even so, she took the time to tell us what was really going on. And we appreciated it. And she mentioned, keeping in touch. So that was a surprise.
Well, there you go, Susan. That'd be good. I'll take that back. I hope you can hear all right here on the YouTube. Maybe not as good as you'd like to, but I'm sure you did hear most of it. But anyway, Susan was very elated as well. And then, of course, as well, my sister, she came and talked to me as well. And she spent, I'd say, about 10 minutes just discussing things with us and gave me a big hug and
Introduced herself to me.
introduced herself to Susan. Now, people who are staunch Jehovah's Witnesses don't do this, but I did see a remarkable change. So, it really got me encouraged to see this and just stop and think about it. If you haven't had your Jehovah's Witness relative, friend, acquaintance speak with you in over 20 years, you'd be excited too, right? Well, yes, you would be. It's a big thing. It meant a big thing. And it just got me thinking of all of the PMOs that are out there. There are, like I said earlier, thousands of them. And if they all left at once, there would be it would be like a stampede. It would be like a stampede. It would be unbelievable. But I don't know if everyone's going to leave at once. But right now, the Watchtower is in a real predicament. You see, the governing body knows all of this. They know darn well of the amount of PMOs. And a lot of the Watchtower articles that I've been reading suggest that they do know. There was an article there not too long ago, about 3-4 months ago, we brought up here on the 6 screens. And what they were saying in the Watchtower article is even to be cautious of those in the Kingdom Hall, because some of those witnesses, they said, aren't loyal. Well, the governing body here is referring to the PMOs. That's who they're referring to.
What about
So,
your nephew?
so the governing body knows about it. Now, look at here's another thing. So I had the car parked out there at night, and my nephew, geez, he's a really handsome looking kid.
Oh, yeah.
Really handsome looking kid. Even Susan, the guy could be a movie star. I'm not kidding you. He's about 6'2". He's a really good looking kid, but he's a witness. And so consequently, he's sitting out on the porch. I went on the car to take care of a few things, bring a few things in from the car. So I got talking with him. I mean, just like I'm talking to you guys here tonight. It wasn't like any oddness or awkwardness. It was kind of like just a little conversation that we had. So that kind of reinforced my way of thinking too. I think that family's Pimo. I,
And
I
the girl was going to marry him and didn't.
yeah, so well, that's another story there, Susan. But then also the next day, I was getting ready to leave, head out here to Chicago, and behind me, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, I see this really pretty girl walking behind me, coming up behind me. So I turned around and she's walking into my niece's home. I said, "Do you live here?" She says, "Yeah." She says, "Danielle, that's my mother." I says, "Wow." I says, "Well, you're my second niece." And so she started talking to me, and I couldn't believe it. And that was like I think this whole family's gone Pimo, folks. But of course, they can't say it. So, anyways, she walked into the house, and then the next day, her sister, which was also a beautiful girl, I got to meet her. And she came over and said hello to Susan and I as we were in the car getting ready to leave. But I'll tell you what, it made me kind of I got this very weak stomach when I see these two pretty witness young ladies. And I'm saying, it's really a shame that the brothers are really going to go after them. I mean, you know what happens, right? In the witness world, those poor girls, they're going to probably meet some creepy goon, right? Well, he's spiritually good, but this is what happens. It's disappointing to see these two beautiful girls might have to get mixed up with some goony witness guy that's a good. Well, he's spiritually nice. He's spiritually on the ball here for Jehovah's Witness organization, but he might not be the best husband. You know what happens in the witness world. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but I'll tell you what, it was an experience. And, on the other hand, too, and I'm just not looking through rose colored glasses here. I'm trying to really just give my total honest feelings about it. But it's not just predicated on me with these people this week. It's also predicated on the emails that I've been getting in. I just talked, Susan and I, a man called us last week. He's a former elder, and he listens into the program here every week. And he says, "Rick, I'm a Pimo." He identified himself as a Pimo. He says he was an elder, and he stepped down. He's not an elder anymore. And he said that, he listens in. He can't comment because his wife might catch him listening into the six screens. But he agrees with us. There's many Pimos out there. And that's just one small little incident. I get people, I'd say, every week that write me or call me or text me, and they tell me about their trek in the Watchtower and how they got to be very cautious. Now, when I first started 20 years ago, I used to get upset with people. Well, why don't you just come out? Stop this foolishness. Stop living a double life. But my position has changed somewhat on that. There's a lot of people out there that for some underlying reason cannot just leave. Now, it could be numerous reasons. I think in terms of a man I know up in Massachusetts. Now, he rents an apartment from his Jehovah's Witness mother-in-law. So he told me, if she finds out I'm an apostate, Rick, I lose my house. He's got 4 little kids. So wouldn't you say that's a good reason? I'll give you another reason. Other people have said, "Rick, I work for one of Jehovah's Witness companies. And, if they find out I'm an apostate and I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, I lose my job. And there goes how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my car payment?" So there's extenuating reasons. So, I'm going to maybe in the past I was a little, come on, guys, get out. You can't live a double life. There's reasons, but eventually you will move to the exit door and say, that's it, I've had enough. And I'm going to be talking about that tonight with the 5 stages of collapse that the Watchtower is now experiencing. But before I get to that, if anyone has any thoughts on it, do you have any? We got a good audience listening in tonight. We got a number of people on our telephone line, and you also see the number going across YouTube and Facebook. If any of you are experiencing this euphoria, this really good feeling of this adrenaline rush because your ex-witnesses are beginning to at least have some conversation with you, is that happening to you? Have you experienced this? And even if not a full-fledged conversation, would you say they're warming up a little bit to you? Well, I'll tell you what, I had a man call me from Oklahoma just this week while I was traveling down here. And he told me his wife, she's an active witness. He's not. He's like a PMO. And he says his wife is starting to really put 2 and 2 together. So how about you? Do you have relatives and friends that are Jehovah's Witnesses that are starting to put 2 and 2 together? Go ahead, hit *6. Don't be bashful. I think it's amazing. I think it's really amazing that we are seeing this happening. And if you don't have a story to tell about it, you will be. Within the next year, you'll be coming in here and you'll say, Rick, I've had a similar experience to yours. So don't be bashful. Let me just take a look here. We do have a number of people on. I believe you're hearing me all right. I believe. Let me just double check here. I believe, yeah, we're still on. Yeah, we're still on. So still going strong. So go ahead and, is there anyone just to check the phone lines? You don't have to really talk about your PMO friends and relatives, but someone just check in with you, make sure we got the lines working here properly. Just hit *6. Yeah, just anyone hit *6.
Hey, Stefan, this is
really enjoyed it.
All right, good. Oh, good. That's good. I just want to make sure here because I'm looking at, yeah, I'm on a cell phone. Normally I have a conference line, but I don't have it because we're on the road. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you. Well, anyways, I hope you guys do get an Did someone want to say something? Go ahead. All right. All right. Well, that's okay. If you don't want to speak up and say it, I did have some people. I know they're listening in tonight. I can see them here, but they're not gonna speak up because they don't. Go ahead, sister. Yep.
No, I just wanted to call in, and I really love this community. I have been POMO for 20 plus years. And my family is all still in, like I'm the black sheep of the family. So it's been really difficult at times. And I find myself doing things. I'm a people pleaser. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that where, they're trying to make other people happy anyway. But yeah, as far as what we're talking about, I think one question that someone put in chat, it was, I think at the DAGDA, he said, how do you feel about the power difference that men have over women? And I have a funny story because it was, my grandmother told me at one point they were going out in field service and none of the brothers showed up. And she had to put a napkin on her head because of the head covering rule. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Anyway, I have a lot of stories about a lot of things. It's a lot of misapplication. I don't know if anyone else has gone through this. I just love you guys to death. But the whole putting a napkin over your head because there's not a brother there, how silly do you look? Come on.
We've all seen the paper napkin
And that's why a lot of sisters will tie a sheet scarf to their handbag.
Yeah, and then my grandma called me one time, and she had just gone to the circuit assembly, and she called me because I just faded. I'm not disfellowshipped. I was publicly reproved at one point. You know, pin a scarlet letter on me. You know, yes, I'm a hoe. But the she pulled off of the freeway after the circuit assembly, and she's like, I've got to tell you something. This is really hard for me. I had to stop off the side of the road because I can't eat a meal with you anymore. I cannot eat a meal with you. And she's like, do you want to go to coffee to talk about it? And I'm like, like, if you can't eat a meal with me, what the hell? I'm not going to coffee with you to discuss it. Like, bye, Felicia. It's just so ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. There's so many ridiculous things about this religion that is it, and it's really hard. If you were born and raised in it, it's really, really hard to separate yourself from it, to especially if your family's still in. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Thought I'd share. I mean, I have way more funny stories, but I'm not gonna. Someone else should talk. So,
Well, I'll tell you what. No, in fact, you got my wife laughing. It got me laughing too, because see, that is when you hear the 5 stages of a religious collapse, which I'll be speaking of tonight. What you were just talking about there with the napkin on the head, that's that it's that type of stuff that causes religions to collapse, and it really is. So we are going to mention that tonight, because it's a very. I'm glad you brought that up. These ritual duties or events that witnesses is terrible. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, obviously, it is a patriarchal society, and they're taking it from biblical terms or whatever. One of the funniest things, I think, that I always asked as a kid, there were actually a couple of things I asked as a kid. One of them was like, why aren't dinosaurs in the Bible? No one could answer that. The second one, I was like, well, if grandma died and grandpa remarried this person, who's he married to in paradise? Which one? And they're like, Jehovah will figure it out. It's just like, okay.
Well, no, that's a funny story too, because that's exactly what they would say. Jehovah will figure it out, or
Jehovah will provide.
or another thing is you'll put it on the back burner, you know.
Yeah.
Too much. Well, that's funny, sister.
Yeah,
give me another one. You got me laughing here. Yeah.
I have plenty of funny stories. So a pioneer called me Satan. That was fun. Well, actually, she didn't call me Satan. Because when you're a teenager, you know, you're supposed to be out in groups, or if you're dating, you have to be chaperoned. And so there were 4 of us. It was me and her daughter and 2 brothers. We went and watched a movie, had some pizza. And because there was not an adult present, I am apparently Satan. And so all the funny part of it was all of my friends in the congregation, this pioneer lady went up to my dad and was like, oh, your daughter's Satan. And he came back and told me, and I was like, Dad, like, there was a lot of us there. Like, there was 4 of us. We weren't doing anything. And so I was telling my friends about this when it happened, and they're like, well, we're just going to call you Satan's cousin from now on. And I'm like, you know what? That works for me.
Well, you got a good sense of humor, sister. And I'll tell you, really, it's just stupid, some of the stuff. It's very awkward.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's hard though when you're trying to be a kid and you're going through this and you have to deal with all the things that come with being a teenager in a very high control society, and you feel different already. You're excluded already, and you're just trying to do the right thing, and then you get called Satan.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Right.
That's what they do, and
Yeah.
for some reason, some odd reason, they use that term a lot. Maybe it's not that odd, but it seems kind of foolish that they would do that, and to put a person like yourself, a fine young lady, in a position of Satan. But that's a trick they use. They've called me Satan. They call all of us apostates agents of Satan. But you got me thinking on some of the stupid little things that Jehovah's Witnesses do that can just drive you wacky. I lived in Florida in 1995, and I moved back to Massachusetts. And there was a sister, I was a witness at the time, my former wife, and I had my two daughters that were still with me. They were teenagers, 17 and both 17 and 18. So I moved in with a witness family that I knew, and until we got settled. So we stayed with them for a good part of, I'd say, about a month. And one day, my two daughters want to go out. They were pioneers, so they want to go out in service up here in Massachusetts, coming out of Florida. So there was a young man in the house, and he was about their age, and he was a witness man too, young man. And so consequently, they were going to go in the car and then drive down to the meeting. And I had to go off and do some errands and do some work up here and get settled. So anyways, the sister that I was staying with, whose son was the man I was talking about here, the sister said to me, she got me aside, well, they cannot drive in the same car, Rick. No, they can't be in the same car. He said, well, crying out, my daughters don't have feelings for your son. They grew up with him at one time, and he's their friend, but there's nothing here romantic going on. Oh, no. The society doesn't approve of them driving in the same car. So it was a snowy morning, so I had to put the daughters in my car, and the young man followed me down to the Kingdom Hall. How absurd is that? But they think just because a man and a woman are in the same car that they're gonna, do some things that aren't right. That's foolish thinking.
Right.
Not everyone does that. But the witnesses, they put this taboo on that. And these people have to go way out of their way because of stupid little things like that,
Oh, I know. And then if you get caught doing anything like that, you get the scarlet letter, and everyone, makes you feel terrible. And if you are from the third generation family and your dad's an elder, they're all clapping behind your back. Oh, yay. They're not so perfect, are they? Oh, look at her. She's a big asshole.
Well, you'd be glad you're out. I'll tell you what, when we think about it, how absurd. In fact, I'll tell you, even coming down to Pennsylvania, coming out of Massachusetts, we have to go by Watchtower Farms and up in that area, Orange County, New York, where the headquarters is. And I'll tell you what, going by there this time, I got the goosebumps. I really, really did. All of a sudden, I started getting this cold feeling. And it's because of the total adherence, I was thinking, that I used to give to the Watchtower. And I'm saying, how did I ever fall in that trap? And what a free feeling it is to be away from that and to be able to be a free thinker and to be able to do things that you could do normally as a normal person would do. And I'm sure, sister, you're feeling that freedom too. Yep.
I hope so. It's been hard. And I'll tell you, I don't know if a lot of the listeners feel the same way I do, but I struggle with it. I really struggle with guilt and obligation and feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't want my parents to know that, God forbid they know that I'm looking at XJW material or like trying to find comfort for myself, because then I'll be labeled an apostate, and I'm not disfellowshipped. So it's just it's really it messes with your whole life, because being a Jehovah's Witness is not it is not who you are. It is who you are. It's an identity. Your whole life is focused on that, especially if you're raised in it, born into it, and have a family that's prevalent in the congregation with activities or duties, so to speak. So it's just, I feel so sorry. I wish I could wake up my family. I feel like it's almost like as a kid, I felt really dumb, because I'd be like, why aren't dinosaurs in the Bible? And what happens if you marry somebody else? Like, who are you going to be married to? And blah, blah, blah. And, there was no question. They're just like, shut up, Lisa. Like, stop asking questions.
Well, it's funny, Lisa, too, because you're laughing, and this is one of the stages that I found myself going through when I left the witnesses. Of course, you're frustrated at first, and you're angry because these guys duped us. But the final stage, I think, of getting out of the Watchtower and getting it behind us is we're finding humor. We are finding humor. It's a joke. We're saying, my goodness, like you just said about the napkin on your head. It's a joke that people actually do this stuff,
Yeah, it's true.
Unreal.
Yeah. And I think one of the other biggest things, and I'm so glad, and I hope my daughters, one of the biggest things that I take away from this is that I broke the cycle. So I'm a third generation witness on both sides of my mom and dad. And I have two wonderful, amazing daughters. And when they were born, I was like, nope, I'm not going to make them weird. Like I at that time was in my phase of fading out. And I was like, well, if I can't tell them what my beliefs are, I'm not going to make them not eat a cupcake at a birthday party in school. Like, it's just wrong. Like, so yeah, I broke the cycle. I did not raise my daughters that way. So I kind of feel like, yay, go me. Like, you're free.
Well, you really, you got a good sense of humor, Sister Lisa. And I have to tell you, really, that there's a lot of people listening in right now, and they'd love to speak up just like you did here tonight.
Oh, yeah. Time for another person's story. Hey, I love you all. Thank you very much. You guys make me feel awesome and at home, and it's so nice to communicate with everybody.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. Yeah, you made my night tonight. You really, really did. Come on back and see us soon. All right.
You did too.
Well, thank you. So, we got 508. Does 508 want to come in? No? Okay. I just see them on the list here, 508. I'm familiar with that number. Yeah. All right. So anyways, you're on JW World News. You were on the Six Screens Telenetwork. This is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk, and they do it every Saturday night for the last 20 years. Well, did someone else want to speak up? I think it's, is that you, Pixie? You want to say something? No?
Rick?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Hi. No, this is the Pixie. My name is Cheryl.
Oh, hey, Cheryl.
And I have been a long-time watcher of your channel, and I know you're going to be talking tonight about the collapse of the Watchtower, and I'm anxious to hear your thoughts. But I wanted to share a couple of thoughts of my own about people and organizations and what causes things to collapse.
Sure.
And it has to do with, in particular, with the Watchtower, the lack of transparency and the lack of taking accountability for the things that go wrong. And I wanted to share a story. Some of you may or may not remember this, but back in the day when David Letterman had his talk show, still active, he was accused of sexual misconduct by one of his staff members. And he came right out on his program and admitted it. He took responsibility. He apologized to his viewers and his family, and it just cut it like a knife. I mean, it was over. And I had so much respect for him because a lot of people don't do that. They deny it, or they try to hide it, or whatever. And I'm always kind of baffled that companies or government or whoever, powerful organizations, don't just realize how powerful that is. Like if the Watchtower would just, number one, take accountability and apologize for all the things that have gone wrong and the things that they predicted would happen that didn't, and everything that they try to shove under the rug, like with the United Nations and the child sex abuse. That's what causes people to get so angry and want to leave, because we don't want to be part of an organization that is such a hypocrite, So I just am always baffled when people try to hide things. I think, why don't you just step up to the plate and say, yes, I did it. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. And we're going to fix it. So anyway, that's the comment I wanted to make tonight.
Well, that is a gold star comment. In fact, that's why that's why a lot of people write me and say, Rick, you have a lot of smart people that comment on the 6 screens. That is a golden comment. And I'll tell you why. In crisis management, and the Watchtower does a bad job at handling crisis. But in crisis management, that's the first thing you do. And I am familiar with Letterman doing that. That's what you do. You come right out, you admit it, you say you're sorry, and you nip it in the bud. But this whole thing, when Barbara Anderson back in 2002, when she first went on the Dateline show with Bill Bowen, and they exposed the Jehovah's Witnesses nationwide on NBC News, and if they would have come out then and said, look, we do understand we have a problem, they could have saved millions of dollars, and they could have kind of nipped it in the bud. But no, they kept wanting to sweep it under the rug. And by doing that, this is where they are today. Millions and millions of dollars in lawsuits, and their name is tarnished.
And broken hearts.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's been over 10 years since the Australian Royal Commission. All those years have passed, and nothing has changed. And it perplexes me. I think you guys are not intelligent, because if you would just realize that you should just admit it instead of I remember that Watchtower where they said they were, what was the word? They kept saying, it meant try. We're going to try to do the best. Instead of just saying we're going to take care of it, they always try to use this hidden language that isn't working. It just doesn't work for most people. They realize it's just a disguise, or worse, it's a big lie. And so anyway, I'm anxious to hear the rest of your show tonight. So thank you,
sister. In fact, I'll tell you, my wife Susan's bringing up a good point here too. The Watchtower had nothing to lose with what you just said. If they came out and admitted it, they could have saved millions of dollars. But more important than the money, look at all the lives they've hurt. All the poor people have been abused by them, that just getting an apology could mean so much to them. And they won't even do that. So, boy, that's a good comment. Thank you very much for bringing that up tonight. Appreciate it, sister.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Well, I think
I'm going to pop in since you called my name.
Yeah, go ahead, Betsy.
For the third generation sister that called, if she watches Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk, she'll be laughing about her witness born in childhood. And I think it's Maverick's favorite movie too. And regarding the sister that just called, she's correct. The Roman Catholic Church said sorry publicly, and now their own young people are kind of on the watch to make sure they're treated properly in the schools and so forth that they run. But if the Watchtower were to do that, they'd have to do something called be accountable. And they're too haughty for that to happen.
Oh, that's good too, Pixie. And I'm glad you brought the Catholic Church up. And I've always admired that. The See of Cardinals, as well as the Pope, they came out and they made a decision to apologize and to even help those that have been hurt financially. But the Watchtower backed away from it. Thank you for that understanding. Thank you, Pixie. Is that you, Joe? Joe Derry? Is that Joe?
Yes, Rick, I just wanted to tell you. Yes, I just wanted to tell you thank you. You look so happy. I know you're tired getting to Chicago, but I'm so happy for you and Susan. And I know that this is good news, and I'm going to be praying for you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Well, that makes it. I'll tell you, Joe, you're a really good man. And I'm sure you were good when you were Jehovah's Witness too. But since you've been out, you probably even became more good, right? You're a good guy, Joe. Don't you ever change. Thank you for that.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, this is Stephen. Just real quick, when you were talking about how these other organizations came out and apologized and Watchtower doesn't, case in point is the opening of the Australian Royal Commission. I watched that, and the representatives of all the different religions that were there to testify. The first thing that they did in their opening comments was to apologize for any hurt or harm their organization caused anybody. One by one, they did this. You want to know what the one organization that did not apologize for anything was out of that whole group was Watchtower. That lawyer got up there and went on a rant, started talking about whatever he was talking about. And he was all fired up. And you could just look at the other reps as they were looking at him like, this man is out of his mind to not come in here and be contrite and apologize. And he's all off on a tangent, basically defending the organization. And they were the only ones, like I said, who did not apologize.
Well, you're right. I remember that. As a matter of fact, even when it comes to payments, all of the other religions, I think there's only two that didn't want to come forth with payments. And Watchtower was one of them. They call it the redress. And all of the other organizations, they agreed, I believe it was, to give all of those that were abused $105,000, if I can remember it right. So it was $105,000, but when it came for the Watchtower to give the redress, they kept going back and forth, and we don't really have to give it because we didn't do anything. And they kept arguing on that basis. Yeah. And I'm still not even sure to this day. I forget. I don't think they ever came forth with the money either. I don't know for sure, though. No.
They probably didn't.
No. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Stephen. You're a good man. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, anyways, I mean, we got a lot of things going here. And, the sister called in and was saying earlier about some of the foolish things that you see the witnesses do. And I brought up that is in one of the stages of collapse. I think we're going to go into that right now and talk about the stages of collapse that the Jehovah's Witnesses are now experiencing. And the reason why I even wanted to bring this up, I don't know if you guys get into Reddit. I know I do. There's a lot of things I can get from there to put on JW World News. But just to bring you up to speed, I was looking at Reddit in the last couple of days. And in Reddit this morning, I got kind of ticked off because there seems to be two camps in the Jehovah's Witness world. Well, of course, we always talk about the believers and the non-believers. We'll put them to the side for now. But I identified another group in the ex-witness world. And the two groups I'm now seeing, there's a group that does not believe the Jehovah's Witness organization is collapsing. They're very adamant about it. As a matter of fact, it got me upset this morning as I was reading more about it, that John Ledger, my goodness gracious, he's the greatest guy on YouTube right now. He's really telling the truth about the Watchtower. He's doing an excellent job. He's a genius. I'm not trying to use the term in a flattery way, but I mean, as far as putting pieces of the puzzle together, he's able to do it and communicate with people. He's a great communicator. So what they were doing is picking on him. And I got upset with that because he doesn't deserve to be picked on. The man is telling you what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower, like we do here every week. So John Ledger, he's got the label now of being in the camp that is suggesting Jehovah's Witnesses are collapsing. Well, I'll tell you, ever since our inception of the 6 screens of the Watchtower, we have been counting down the last days of the Watchtower. That's what our mission has been. And I take the position without any reservation that the Watchtower is collapsing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you some facts tonight that will show it to you. And so those in the camp that don't think it's collapsing, if you're listening in tonight, I'd love to hear you. I'm not going to beat you up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But I know what you're going to say before you even say it, but I'd love to listen to what you're going to say. So let's just talk a little bit about that tonight. Is the Watchtower in the final stages or in any stages of collapse? Well, let's just look at it. I've come to understand that there are 5 stages that not only a religious organization goes through, but we're going to focus mostly, in fact, all of our concentration tonight on the 5 stages of collapse in religion, specifically the Watchtower. But you can take some of these same stages and apply them to business, but we're not going to do it. We're just going to stay tonight on religion. Now, sociological and historic data show that there's an institutional collapse of many religions. Now, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but all of these religions that are collapsing, they are following a predictable sequence. It's predictable. And we're going to mention some of these things and why we say it's predictable. Now, now get to understand this, and we can all grasp this. Rather than say that the Jehovah's Witness organization is disappearing overnight, I'm not saying that. But I'm going to tell you what, the Jehovah's Witness religion has been in decline for many years, And this has been occurring across generations. Look, I'm 79 years old. Well, I will be at least in July. And, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and my grandfather and grandmother were Jehovah's Witnesses, just like many of you. So we've been seeing a change. The Watchtower is disappearing in a declining way, not just disappearing overnight. But this has been going on for years. We just probably didn't notice it, but this decline has been happening. Now, when you look at a high control group like the Jehovah's Witness, things can really happen pretty quick, but they're going to try to slow it down a little bit. And these control groups, they're very easy to see the pattern or the sequence of what's causing their collapse or their deconstruction. The whole witness world is deconstructing. Now, their framework of this collapse, we put into 5 different phases of collapse or different stages of collapse. Let's just talk about stage 1. Let's talk about stage 1. That's the place to start, right? Well, first of all, in stage 1 of religious collapse, you're going to see a decline of participation. Are we seeing that? Are the members, are the adherents who are Jehovah's Witnesses, are they stopping from taking serious some of the ritual meetings, like the sister was just some of the ritual events in these Jehovah's Witness meetings, like a woman, actually putting a napkin on her head because there was no brother present and saying a prayer. And they're actually stopping from participating in many of these programs that Jehovah's Witnesses had. Well, let's go with weekly attendance. We all know this. The weekly attendance of Jehovah's Witnesses is not like it used to be. Now, those that say that it's not collapsing, you got to at least agree with me on that. I would say that everyone knows it. People call in here. I show empty seats at Kingdom Halls, empty seats at conventions. So it's a fact, friends. It's a fact. The weekly attendance of Jehovah's Witnesses are in decline. Now, you might say, well, my Kingdom Hall has a whole lot of witnesses. It's more than ever, Rick. Well, yes, there are some that were. We call them super halls. These are halls that are centrally located. So when they close other congregations down, they can now meet at this hyper hall or this center hall, super hall, whatever you want to call it. So we know that's a fact. Now, one of the other things in a stage one is not only declining attendance, we see dwindling volunteers for administrative duties. Well, you say, what does that mean? That means that brothers aren't reaching out. That means they're having real trouble getting brothers to want to be not just ministerial servants, but not even wanting to be elders. And many of them are throwing the towel in. Take that one to the bank and cash it. That's a fact. Okay. So we have to present the facts, and that's what I'm doing here tonight. So the reality, if you just look at the reality, the organization's official data confirms that the traditional lifestyle of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's changing. The Watchtower now is doing what they can to stop the hemorrhage, but they can only do so much. But Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not participating in the door-to-door work. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still some places in the country where you will see door-to-door work. But now you think about it. You're sitting there, you're listening to this program tonight. When's the last time you had a Jehovah's Witness knock on your door? Now, of course, if you're a known apostate, if you're known to, yeah, never. That's right. So when did that? I mean, if you're a known apostate, then that's one thing. But there's people listening to this program, they're not apostates. The witnesses aren't knocking on their door either. And correct me if I'm wrong. And also one of the stages in collapse. Of course, we're in number one here. The governing body of any religious organization in collapse, that they've got to eliminate the historical requirements that they one time imposed upon the witnesses. And that's what they've done with the preaching work, right? They've gone from, door to door, huffing at 10 hours a month to just with a checkbox ministry. And they had to do that. And you'll find that in the first stage, an organization like the Watchtower is going to start bending the rules a little bit to be able to at least keep some of the people in. Now, I'm just going to give you some figures here. Let's go with the United States. That's where most of us live, right? Now, the overall growth, I should say, the overall growth in the United States in the last year is 1%. Now, that's what the Watchtower is reporting. Now, 1%, that's not a lot, but it even gets worse than that. And that doesn't even keep up with the population growth. In other words, you would think the population growing, you would have even more witnesses. But 1% is not even what the population growth is. So that shows me they're not growing. I mean, if you want to look at it realistically. And then another thing that we're seeing in the witness world is a heavy reliance on digital or remote alternatives. The witnesses are not going and meeting together personally, so to speak, at the Kingdom Hall. Many are meeting on Zoom. So you see, this is what we're starting to see in the first stage of collapse. Now, also, there's a cost factor. There's a cost factor in being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, it's not just in terms of money. Of course, it costs you a lot of money to be a Jehovah's Witness, right? Look at the wear and tear on your car. Look at back and forth to the meetings, especially with gas now over $4 a gallon. And Now also there's a cost of all of your energy. Look at you guys. Look at me. Given many years to the Watchtower. What was it all worth? All of your energy up in smoke. And then you have peer accountability. Oh, Brother Farron, you're not doing enough. You got to do more. I mean, this is a real cost factor. This can really create some problems in a person's life being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So, the first layer of religious life is starting to take place here. Many of those people who are being stressed out, and many of those people are now doubting the Watchtower. These members are dropping out, but they got to be careful. They got to be careful. They can't just say, "That's it, I quit." Many of them, as we said earlier, are now in the PMO class, physically and mentally out. Okay, that's stage one. I believe that most people who heard that little narrative, I think you'll agree with it. Maybe you don't. If there's anyone that disagrees with it, by all means, speak up. I'll give you the time to do it. If you'd like to talk about that, do you disagree with stage one? Attendance not being like it used to be, people being stressed out, all of these factors we brought up. Well, let's move into stage two, if no one wants to question one. Okay, so in stage two, in the Jehovah's Witness organization Watchtower, they're aware of this. The religion ceases to be the central guiding force in an individual's private life or ethical decision making. Now, when we were all staunch, loyal witnesses, the organization was the central force in our private life, right? Everything we did. Well, even Dick Borgie on his program, he was talking about the bedroom laws. They even wanted to intrude into your bedroom. And then also we had to think about other ethical decisions that we had to make when we were really connected to the Watchtower. Boy, do I die. I'm not going to take a blood transfusion, but God will bring me back. And so many things. Do I go to a movie that's R-rated? Boy, can I go to a 4th of July parade? I mean, simple little things like that. We were always allowing the governing body of the central guiding force of the Jehovah's Witnesses to invade or to be able to be in our private life, in all of our decision-making process. Now, this is what happens, and it's happening right now, and I can see it. I see it here even more than many listening into the programs, because what we do is we have two programs here. We have a Sunday program where we get into the spiritual aspect of people who have left the Watchtower. And we don't do it here on Saturday night, just to bring you up to speed. What happens in stage two, the members, at least in the Jehovah's Witnesses and in other religions that are going through a collapse, they stop praying privately. They no longer consult scriptural doctrines for life choices. Now, didn't we do that really, really strictly when we were witnesses? I mean, we would pray all the time, right? And I still do. I'm a Christian man today. But many witnesses leaving, they don't pray at all now. That's what they prayed when they were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't consult any scriptural doctrines. See, they just said they were so spiritually abused in the Watchtower, and they can no longer make or decide on any scriptural doctrines to work for their life. Who has a thought on this? Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is, and so, I'm on both sides of the fence on this, and it's because of the conversation I've been having with ChatGPT. And first of all, when I was talking to ChatGPT, naturally he says at the end that everything I said was spot on. That's how it worked. But anyways, the point, remember you and I talk about seers, and I was talking to him about seers and Ammon. And so what happens is I was telling him the problem with the Jehovah's Witnesses is that seers had Eddie Lambert as a CEO, and he basically pillaged and stole everything. Everybody, It's undeniable. The guy just ripped off the whole dang company. And so because you have a leadership structure that stays the same and stubborn, then it's going down. You know, Sears had the opportunity to be the Amazon, but they turned it down. You know, kind of like a lot of companies turned down the Xerox, the copy machine and so forth, the fax machine and stuff like that. Well, Amway is kind of the same thing. Amway changed their business model. The Latter-day Saints were used to be Mormons. They're now called Latter-day Saints. So what you have is you have companies, because at the end of the day, Watchtower is a company. So will Watchtower survive? Yes, because it has the money and it has a lot of faithful people. Will it be the same as its old remnant days? No. But when I was talking to ChatGPT at the end, we said no, if they are like Sears, and if the governing body stays the same in their structure, they will be like Sears, and they will just be a thing of the past. They will be like Woolworths and the DeSoto and all of those, American Motors. But if Watchtower actually changes the governing body, where you actually have one man who's a leader, he can actually take the Jehovah's Witnesses out of the slump that they're in. But you can't drive a ship the size of a Titanic like the Watchtower when you have 7, 8, 9, 10 captains. And that's what you have with the Watchtower. You have a whole bunch of people who everybody wants to believe that they're in charge. Kind of like what's happening right now in the United States. Everyone thinks that they're the president. We only have one president, but nobody listens to Donald Trump. Everyone is president. No one's obeying the orders. And the country's you feel it. We're in a mess. Watchtower's the same way. They don't have clear direction. So that's why I say I'm on both sides. If Watchtower stays like Sears, they're dead. If Watchtower stays like Amway, they'll have a new CEO, new structures. They're going to suffer, but they're going to keep their money. They're going to keep their loyal base, and they will reimagine themselves. Does that make any sense?
Oh, yeah,
I do believe about the stages.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we'll discuss more of those. But what you're saying, Gilbert, is certainly something that I have to at least give you the credit for being on both sides of the fence, and you're willing to go one way or the other. And I like what you said. You got too many cooks in the kitchen. I mean, you can't have all 11 people here right now. They have to have some disagreement, and that also can cause major problems. But one person could come in. You're right, but it'll be a whole new organization if that happened again.
Yes.
But no, thank you. Yeah.
And I'll just close with this. So I can't say yes or no. I'm not trying to be afraid. It's just the ball is in Watchtower's court, and if they continue the way they're going now, definitely they're going to destroy themselves. But they can change and they can reverse course. It's possible, I think.
Well, good thought. Well, thank you for checking in with us. And I have to say, you want to say something? Go ahead.
The problem they have in sociology, we have what's called the third place. The corner pub, the church, and the dance in the town square are all a third place where we leave our home, and for no cost, we go as a community to some place that's in our little village. And the more we do this online, the more we lose that third place. So the more Kingdom Halls they close, we're losing the community where we get dressed up and we go out, and maybe a boy and girl meet at a dance, which is a third place, and they say, gee, let's get married. Are we going to go to your Methodist church or my Episcopal church? Both of which are third places. So the witnesses, if they give up the Kingdom Hall, they've given up that third place within the village. And that could be part of their downfall as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, isn't it fun and even enlightening that there's so many things that could cause their downfall, Pixie? It's just, I mean, you don't even have to stop and think too much about it. You just have to think how crazy this organization is. Thank you for your thoughts.
Rick?
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
this is Zach.
Yes, Zach.
This is Zachary. How are you?
Good.
I'm thinking about, I'm going to talk about the witnesses from where they are. And just as, I like that sister who spoke up and she said she's third generation. I'm a born in, my mother was a witness. And I never think about generation because I'm just a born in. And I guess that makes me a second generation, which is not so, not such a big deal. Second generation, yeah. But I think about the way the witnesses, what they used to do and how they have changed. And I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And like they're really trying to get people in and they're trying to save people before the end comes. Back, I remember as a child, it was a summer day and we were in field service and there were so many people in field service and we were working a street. It was a small street and they were row homes. And there were two people, two by twos, the brothers assigned people on each side of the street and those people started taking doors. And you just saw all these people, two at each door, the first door, the second door, the third door, fourth door. And there were these two older sisters who were put together. They were elderly. I'll say their first names even, Geneva and Mary. And they were working one side of the street and they started walking. They were walking slowly and two people would pass them, go to a door. Two more people would pass them and take a door. And I watched this as a kid and I realized, wow, as people take doors, somebody finishes one door and they start walking to the next available door. These two sisters are walking up the street and they're not getting to take any doors because there's so many people out there in the door-to-door work on this summer morning. And finally, they got to a door and they went up. They're smiling, everything's fine. That's the way it used to be in field service with the witnesses. And I guess you had a number of return visits and Bible studies, and these people came into the organization. Some of them got baptized and became witnesses themselves. But I think the last time I saw, I hadn't for years seen witnesses going from door to door. Maybe it was around the year 2017 that I saw out the window a group of witnesses. And I realized when I saw one of the brothers with another brother, and I thought, they're having a circuit overseer's visit. That's why there were so many of them out.
Yeah,
I never see that anymore. And it's been years. All I see is people at carts. I see them changing over from one ship to the next. I think I've gotten 2 letters in the mail to the occupant from witnesses, but I don't see witnesses out there anymore. Now, I might live in an area where they might not work so much. They might feel it's difficult to get in, but I don't see them anymore. And I think for that reason, you don't have the Bible studies happening. And just based on the witnesses' own model of being a religion, trying to help people, they're not having increase. They won't have increase because they don't do that field service the way they used to do it. So just looking at that, I do see them as diminishing. And you know what I say, they will have, they're looking at watching their money to make sure that they can handle people who are over a certain age, who are at Bethel or in missionary homes, and they will diminish very slowly. It won't be a big drop off all of a sudden, but it will be a slow diminishing, and they're just going to make sure that they can handle the bills. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's a way you said a mouthful there, Zach. I'm in line with what you're thinking. You and I are pretty much on the same train. It'll be slow, but they're already in the process. And just to bring people up to speed, we are talking about the 5 stages of collapse that the witnesses will experience and where they are now. Now, we have discussed stage 1, and of course, just to reemphasize that, that would be the decline of participation. We are seeing that the participants in this organization, well, they're missing meetings. The Kingdom Halls aren't as full as they used to be. Weekly attendance is bad. Jehovah's Witness organization is starting to see that they had to bend the rules a little bit, of course, with the checkbox ministry to retain these people who've had enough and try to get them back to the meetings. So let's go with that. And now also we talked about stage 2. And of course, the religion, the Jehovah's Witness religion, is not the central guiding force in an individual's private life or ethical decision making anymore. People have had enough of it. Members stop praying, as we say. They're disconnecting. They're deconstructing from the religion, as the official term would be. So we see that stage 1, stage 2 is already happening. It's already happening right before our face. We see it. Now we're going to go into stage 3. Well, what goes on in stage 3 of a religion collapsing? Well, I know you'll all agree with me on this. Generational replacement. Well, what in goodness name's sake does that mean? Generational complacence catches up with the data. Okay. As I mentioned, I'm an older man. I have children. Even my children have children. We're talking about generations here. So each generation is now catching up on the data that Jehovah's Witnesses have been preaching through the decades. And they're saying something's not passing the smell test with this. They are really beginning to say, I don't want to belong to this religion. I want to shed my religious identity with this organization. So we're seeing rapid numbers of of Jehovah's Witnesses that are becoming disaffiliated. And they're becoming apostates like me and many listening into this program. So you also have a low retention rate among youth raised in this faith. They're leaving. And not only that, I'm going to tell you another thing that's happening here in stage 3. People becoming more bold. They're actually telling me that they don't even care anymore. They're telling me they want to leave. And even if it causes family division, they don't care. They said they've had enough. Now, I'm not saying everybody does that, but I have heard it here in the 6 screens. They don't care. I don't care. You can leave me. You can shun me. You can avoid me. I don't care. I don't want any part of this anymore. I've had enough. Now, when people, this is stage 3 again, when people finally refuse to even label themselves as a Jehovah's Witness, oh my goodness, there's many of them. I don't want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. This is now indicating, this is a stark indication, the social and the emotional ties to their faith, that the Jehovah's Witness faith have completely died. Yes, completely died. This is where many people are right now. Many people listening to this program, you'll agree with me, I believe. You don't have to, but your social and emotional ties to this organization, to their belief system, have completely died. You've heard me say it before. The monkey died. The circus is over. They've had enough. They've had enough. As a matter of fact, take them off the grill. They're cooked. You've heard me say statements like this for the last 20 years, but now it's coming to fruition. So we're seeing it. Oh, and now the witnesses so far have gone through these 3 stages. And, it's taken a while, it's taken decades. This isn't happening overnight, but now all of a sudden, things are starting to go faster. We are seeing the Watchtower now. We're going to bring them into stage 4. This is where the Watchtower is right now. Now, there's 5 stages of collapse. Stage 4 is where the Watchtower is. And this has to do with institutional or organizational panic in a radical retraction. Oh my goodness. Yes. Is the organization in panic mode? Of course they are. With radical retraction. Well, what does that mean? Well, haven't they retracted radically a lot of their policies, a lot of their ways of doing business? I mean, the beards, the women can now wear slacks, you can now toast, you can now have higher education. All of these things have changed. So I'm telling you, Watchtower is in stage 4. Institutional organization, panic, and radical retraction. Now, the Watchtower is desperate. Would you say that? Would you use the term desperate? I'm going to use it. The Watchtower is desperate to halt the shrinking membership, the declining revenue. And now the leadership is entering a state of structural panic. I'm telling you right now, take this to the bank and cash it. The organization is in panic mode. Oh, you don't agree with me? Well, what about Tony Morris? No one's heard anything about him. Have you seen the latest YouTube videos about him? They're in panic mode. What if this guy shows up and writes a book like Ray Franz? What if this guy all of a sudden comes out and starts doing lectures about how evil the Watchtower is? What about some of these apostates? John Ledger, John Cedars, even. He does a good job. All of these apostates, Mike and Kim. What about critical thinkers? All of these people that are exposing the Watchtower. It's got the Watchtower in panic mode. We're all like a bunch of cockroaches. They know as soon as they try to get rid of one of us, one of us comes out of the woodwork, right? So these are key indicators. The organization is rapidly, they're scaling back on physical real estate. Now, I mean, scaling back, I don't mean that they're not taking advantage of it. They're now selling off Kingdom Halls, Assembly Halls worldwide. Yes, they are. They're really starting to understand, hey, let's grab the money. The ship is going down. I'll tell you, things are changing. We know they don't print as many Watchtowers as they used to. Is that the sign of a growing religion? Oh, cut back on the Watchtower. They don't even print. They don't even print. They don't even have the public edition any longer. The Watchtower. It's just a study edition. Look at friends. I'm not trying to totally convince you. I'm just trying to give you the facts. The Watchtower has been making historic changes in the lifestyles of their followers, trying to get them to stay with them. These are all efforts being made by the Watchtower to get you to stay. So the result is these structural compromises, they are beginning to really upset even the older witnesses. They're hearing this. What about just a few months ago when the Watchtower said that Armageddon may not be coming in your lifetime? How does that settle with you? Don't you think that's ticking off some of the older people that have been waiting for 50, 60 years for Armageddon so they could now go into the new world? And all of a sudden the Watchtower comes out and says, it might not come in your lifetime. Friends, you just can't do that to people. Geez, that's like telling your kids, okay, kids, we're going to take you to Disney World. Oh, get ready, get the suitcase packed. We're going to go to Disney World. Your kids are all excited. Oh, well, not going now. Geez, I mean, you know what it'd be like if you were a kid, right? So a lot of older members here, they're beginning to alienate. They're beginning to leave the Watchtower, and they are doing it in a way very slowly, but they're doing it. Trust me when I tell you, a lot of old ones have had enough. And you know, we even a few years ago, we were saying, well, the old ones might be so loyal they'll stay in. But then also in the last few years, look at Joe and Fran, for example. Well, they're older ones. They've had enough of it. They walked away and lost really their whole family doing it. They're willing to do it. They're willing to do it. And as many older ones listening on here tonight have done the same thing. So, you know, these are things. This is the fourth stage of collapse. So radical retraction. We are seeing this right now in the organization. Also, did someone want to say something? Go ahead. Come on with us. Who is this? Is this Stan?
I have a question.
Yeah, let's go with Dan. Let's go with Dan first. Let's go with Stefan. Let's go with Dan first. Go ahead, Dan.
All I was going to say, Rick, it's a good show. What I was going to say is I'm noticing a lot of couples are coming out. It didn't used to be that way. We had a couple over. They don't want to, mention who they are, but I'm like blown away that it used to be when one left, the other one stayed and there was a divorce. But now we're seeing whole couples come out. And what's happening is the knowledge base is so strong out there on the internet that this guy that came out, he was able to reason with his wife. He's like, look at this online. Look at it in AI. Look at this. Look at that. And boom, she was like, you're right. I can't deny it. And they're coming out. And another thing that's happening, you mentioned paranoia. There's a paranoia going around the hall. They're self-destructing. It's like everybody's being accused, and here's another thing. I'll say it and then I'll go back. But another thing that happened is a lot of people never returned back to normal meetings after COVID. A lot of people took that as an opportunity to say, wait a minute, to take a breath, they just go online and that sort of thing. So you got all that working. You got people that are like, hey, man, let's just don't rush back. And they're thinking and they're reasoning. So that was a big blow. And then the other thing is, like I said, this suspicion from the elders. This guy told him his best friend ripped his throat out, just tore him to pieces, and he couldn't believe it. And he says, oh my God, this isn't love. I asked one question, and he said that they completely tore me up, threw me away, couldn't get me out of there fast enough. So I think you're right, Rick. The paranoia, even in the congregation, aside from governing body, you remember how they had that, watch the congregation, watch the people in the car, watch if they're on Facebook or this or that. So this guy was telling me that his best friend turned on him permanently. And it was kind of like, you and your wife both get your ass out of here. You agree, Rick? I mean, this is what's going on.
I gotcha. I agree with you 100%, Dan. And, I thought of you even as I was putting this together that, you talked about deconstructing there a few weeks back and how the organization is in a collapse. And it got me thinking for this program tonight that, I'm not trying to convince and tell people that this is the only thing that's going on as the Watchtower is collapsing. Some disagree with it, as I said at the outset of our little discussion tonight. But I know you're in the camp of it's collapsing. You're seeing it. You and Angela get around, you drive around, you witness things, you get relatives, and you're seeing different things that are showing the Watchtower is in a free fall. No doubt about it.
Yeah, there's no structure either.
I think Dan's right. After 2020, everything changed.
Everything changed. And there's no infrastructure left. There's no, like you said, Rick, you just pencil in your door to door. There's no, like when we were there was real accountability. You were like, hey, should we count this 15 minutes we took when we took a break? And a lot of stuff's happening, but I think it's deteriorating. People just can't stand behind carts. I see even people, Rick, that, used to witness and they don't witness anymore. They just stand behind the carts out in the park and they just stare off. And I know they're thinking, we talked to a couple of people. We were on a path, and two of the older people, I don't know if they were third generation or fifth, looked like they were 70. They didn't say one word. They just sat there quiet as a mouse. They weren't interested in talking or participating. So I think it's on a lot of levels, it's dead. I mean, I think people now the people that are going out of habit. It is fear-based. It definitely is 100% fear-based is the only reason we were in, but I think the fear is wearing off. The angry God Jehovah's is just fading. They don't know when the end's going to come now. There's no more prophecies. You know what I mean, Rick?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, guys.
Stefan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to continue with the analogy of viewing Watchtower as a business, because we're talking about the various stages of collapse of a business. And my question is simple. What is the product that Watchtower is making today? Because it was easy to look back in the days and say, Watchtower product was literally their publications. And then they had this army of people sending those publications out. You didn't have to pay for that. People were responding, hey, any problem that you have in life, and not to mention the end is right around the corner. You better take this book, this Watchtower, this publication. You come to our meeting, and people were coming in and bringing their money in, and you have to bring build Kingdom Halls with the free labor and all the rest of that. But now that all of that is kind of a thing of the past, what is their product? Because every business has some sort of a product that they make or that they sell or market or whatever the particular angle is. What is the Watchtower product? That's a question that I don't have an answer for.
Well, that is a darn good question. Yeah, go ahead. That's a darn good question, Stefan. Yeah, go ahead. I think that's who's this? Gilbert, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Rick, I'm sorry to chime in again, but I'll answer that question. It's real simple. Listen, it goes back to what I was saying before. When you look at the governing body members, I've told you this before, they're girly men. They do not have testosterone. You need a man who goes up there and says, listen, my name is Gilbert Gonzalez. I preached in the jungles of Bolivia. I was in the Amazon. I was in Ukraine. And hiding the Jehovah's Witnesses from being drafted. This is the kind of man that you need to be a leader. And then to go back with what are you selling? Why is the stupidest thing Watchtower did was get rid of the Wake and the Watchtower magazines via subscriptions. Everybody in America and everybody in the world wants to know the skinny on the data centers. So I would have millions of Jehovah's Witnesses selling magazines talking about data centers, robots, artificial intelligence, written by the most professional, smartest people in the industry. And I would be making so much money that nobody would remember 1914. I wouldn't even talk about 1975 because a true leader leads and everyone's going to just forget about all of that other stuff. What I'm trying to say is that Watchtower is doomed because they have no leaders. And in order for you to have a leader, you have to have a man. You have to have testosterone and a set of testes that make testosterone, which some people call them balls. They don't have that. They wear makeup when they're doing videos. And because they don't think like men and they're not leading the charge, they're not like George Washington or Theodore Roosevelt, who are on top of a horse and saying, let's go, I'm the first one into battle. Because Watchtower doesn't have that, they have written themselves into the destiny of destruction. But if Watchtower would find a charismatic, good-looking leader like myself, Gigi for GB, it would be a totally different religion. Don't you understand? It really does boil down to leadership. Because men want to follow. And Pixie's right about the Kingdom Halls. You turn the Kingdom Halls into centers of fun. And you bring back the 1990s, right? And this is how you know what I'm telling you, Rick, is true. When Watchtower flourished, they had a man by the name of Russell, Rutherford, and Knorr. And they all had one thing in common. They were presidents. They were in charge. And because you do not have men in charge, you do not have a leader at the helm where Truman says, the buck stops here. That's why they fall. Why did Sears fall? Because they sold Amway, they sold Discover, they sold Kenmore, they sold Craftsman. Watchtower had millions of magazines going into people's homes every week. And some stupid idiot who never served in the jungles of Bolivia or Brazil says, I'm going to save money for Watchtower and I'm going to stop this. This is stupid. They got rid of the goose that laid the golden egg.
I'm with you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Can you hear me?
No, I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. Go, but my
Yeah,
goodness.
so Watchtower's listening, Rick, and they might bring in a charismatic leader, and things might change.
Well,
But yeah,
I
you're
lay in bed
right.
at night, and I often wonder why you're not on the governing body. I'm saying, man, this guy could take and
Exactly.
radically change everything. Good looking guy like you could be a movie star. My goodness.
It's a
I-
no-brainer.
yeah,
Hey, Rick, can I come in?
of course.
This is John Terry out of New Orleans. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, John. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment about the stages of the collapsing that you're talking about.
Sure.
Remember the day when in the 80s, in 90s, we were living in the last days. Don't go to college. Don't plan for any kind of life in this world, because it's right around the corner. That beautiful paradise garden, that we're going to be living in is right there around the corner. It's not far away. The people that were born in 1914, they're dying off. There's only a few of them left. Well, now that 1914 has not come to pass, they're thinking about, well, wait a minute, we're supposed to be in the Paradise Garden by now. And so not only that, but the Watchtower magazine that had the article about, the Armageddon may not come in your lifetime. So if you think about it, what's one of the main reasons why Jehovah's Witnesses go to the Kingdom Hall? To keep their eyes on the prize, that Paradise Garden, to live in that wonderful, perfect world where you see your relatives, you become young again, there's no problems, there's no sickness. And so the witnesses are starting to see that, well, Armageddon might not be coming in my time. So they losing the eye on the prize, and they starting to feel like, well, why am I coming into meetings? There's no more prize. 1914 didn't happen. Now they're telling us that it may not even come in our lifetime. So wouldn't you agree that that's playing a big part on the stages of collapse?
Oh, of course it's a big degree. Of course it is, John. Yes. My goodness. Good.
Yeah.
Good observation. Thank you. Yes. Who's this, Zachary?
Rick,
Yeah.
yes, this is Zachary. I have to agree with that strongly. Another reason why the witnesses are kind of falling is because the doctrine no longer fits. It used to be Matthew 24:14. This good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the inhabited earth as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. That was the kind of thing. This generation will by no means pass away until all these things have occurred. That was strong witness doctrine. It got people standing up on their toes. We were at the end. The flood is coming type of end, And so you're out there trying to warn people and bring them in so their lives can be saved. And look at what happened in the years leading up to 1975. Now, I think that the book that announced, highlighted 1975 was that Life Everlasting and Freedom of the Sons of God book. It came out sometime around 1966. And in that period leading up to 75, there were so many people becoming witnesses, so that at some point they had to have 6 month Bible study programs. And lists were being made up. And if a person didn't progress in their Bible study, then you'd have to move to the next person on the list, because the end was imminent. But now, and I acknowledge when they say it may not come in your lifetime, that was an article for older people. But they had never done that before, said it may not come in your lifetime. So the doctrine no longer can stand. The current governing body are not the same ones who were there before. These are now all newer governing body members. And it has to be difficult to try to say those same things that had been said before when you find yourself now 112 years after 1914. See, so that's a major problem that the witnesses have. Just the basic doctrine that pushed people before, that doctrine has kind of fallen apart.
Well, I'm glad you say that, Jack.
Thank you, Zach. Zach, I really appreciate your comments, man. I wish that you can give, I wish you would call more. And I really love your intelligent comments. And I miss whenever you don't call.
Thank you.
Well, no, we all would miss Zach, and even your comments, Sean. Really, your comments are so good too. All of the people, in fact, I'm not just kidding when I tell you, but we have people really that say, man, they listen to the six screens, and they'd say, as I said earlier, a lot of really great thinkers, and they say, you have an intelligent audience, Rick. These people really are telling it like it is. Thank you. No, I always appreciate you guys calling in. And let me tell you something. I can sit here and bloviate all night long. But when you guys call in, I tell you this all the time, it makes all the difference in the world. There are people that are really listening in tonight intently. There are people listening in that are being shunned big time. People have no friends, no relatives. The only way they can even feel a sense of community is by listening in here live. And we support all those people. And we hope someday you can muster up the courage and come in as well. Well, let's move on to stage 5. Now, the Watchtower isn't here yet. We say they're in stage 4. Stage 4 is many people will just kind of go through it quickly. The organization loses its authority. That's stage 4. And we all have to agree the Watchtower is losing its authority. Many witnesses don't give a darn what the governing body is even saying. It's losing their authority. But stage 5, the witnesses have not entered yet. But I tell you what, they're getting very, very close. Stage 5 represents the final phase of an organization's life cycle. Now, at this point, the group ceases to exist as a functional, cultural, meaningful, or self-sustaining entity. Well, the Watchtower is not there yet, but it's very, very close. Now, for a religious organization, stage 5 not only means every single believer vanishes. Now, I want to, this is going to happen. Even if Watchtower goes out of business and they collapse entirely, this does not mean that every single believer of the Watchtower is going to vanish. Rather, the centralized institution, it goes away. The Watchtower organization, as we knew, shatters itself and goes away, leaving behind a microscopic fraction of what it once was. Oh, there'll always be people that love the Watchtower. Even though it's gone in stage 5, they'll always say, well, I believe there's only 144,000 that go to heaven. And I believe about paradise earth where we'll play with the panda bears. So there's going to be a microscopic fraction of what once was. Now, the 3 primary characteristics that actually define stage 5 of a religious collapse includes. But like I say, friends, the Watchtower is not here yet. But there's going to be a hyper fragmentation and splintering. Well, I've heard this said before, that there's going to be splinter groups, right? Very much like when Rutherford came in and took over the Watchtower. Well, who was a splinter group? Well, that would have been the Bible students, right? So the reality, when the central leadership loses all credibility, when it loses financial stability, when it loses its legal standing, the organization fractures. They're on the verge of that right now. So as a result, in stage 5, the main body, the governing body, the Watchtower organization, splits into tiny, isolated, and often radicalized splinter fractions. The micro groups usually claim that they're the only true remaining believers. Well, the Bible students do that today. So history repeats itself. And they're frequently these little micro groups, as we would call them. They will be frequently fighting with other splinter groups over the remnants of the original doctrine. Well, the Watchtower was right with this. Well, no, it wasn't right with that. They'll be arguing for maybe centuries about that. But the Watchtower's central organization will be gone. So, what's the reality of all of this? Well, the group loses its ability to recruit new members. That's what put them out of business in stage 5. They don't have the ability to influence the public that they once had. The general public no longer views the religion as a mainstream faith. They now view the Watchtower as a dangerous threat or an entity that's very evil. And isn't that where the Watchtower is almost at today? Can you see them almost going into stage 5? Look at all these nations that are pointing a finger at the Jehovah's Witnesses. Look at them all. We count 14 of them. They're saying something wrong with this religion. This religion's nutty. Now, instead of being viewed as a bizarre historical abnormally, the Watchtower will just be, in some cases, a footnote in some sociological text. Now, the door-to-door work, the public literature carts, and the major conventions that were once held by the Watchtower, they will be completely disappearing in stage 5. Has this ever happened before in American religion? Have we seen the collapse, the 5 stages of collapse in religions just disappearing here in the United States of America? I have to tell you yes. I have to say yes. How about the Shakers? Oh, the Shakers. Well, they were a united society of believers, once thriving, highly structured 19th century American religious movement with thousands of members across numerous communal villages all across America. And due to the strict theological rules, they no longer exist, the Shakers. Well, they were a cult too. They're gone. There's only a couple of Shakers left.
Absolutely.
There's only a
They
few.
have less than 10 members.
Here you go, Pixie. Yeah,
And
no.
if you like celibacy and homemade pie, they do have electricity. They would welcome you. But the Shakers had so much money because whenever a person would join back in the other century, they had to give their money to the Shakers. So they would like to have new members because those farms, there's 2 farms that are still going, but they got like 3 members each, and they're sort of like museums. But they would actually give you a suit of clothes. You can make pie. You have electricity. You can read Ann Lee's books. They have plumbing, but it's celibacy and it's their little world and doing the dance.
What's their average age?
Their average age, they have some really old members, but I'm sure if you wanted to be a celibate young member, they would love to have you.
Well, I'll tell you, Pixie, you got me laughing because I'll tell you what, Susan and I, and also Anne Marie, who also comes on this program, a few years back, the last remaining Shaker village in the United States is up in the state of New Hampshire, Canterbury, New Hampshire. So we went up there. It is like a museum, like you say, Pixie. You walk around, they tell you about the Shakers and what they did and all of this. But there's only a handful, like you say, 10 of them left. There was 2 older women up in New Hampshire that were kind of running that commune, so to speak. And beautiful place, beautiful area in New Hampshire. but they're gone. They're gone, just like the Watchtower is going to go as well.
They had congregants come in so that they could stay, like people from the community would come in on a Sunday. So they had somebody to preach to or with. Their services are a little different, but they had somebody to do the dance and somebody to talk to. And again, I think with a lot of people that may not have a home, I could see Bethel boys, going and being shakers. And again, the food is good. They have no restriction on their culinary.
Well,
They do have electric lights.
well, they also, what they were famous for, we went through the little museum up there in New Hampshire, is the Shakers. Their furniture, even to this day, it's the best of the best.
Exquisite.
Yeah, just like the Amish people. Yeah,
Furniture.
they made beautiful. In fact,
The
itself.
furniture is in museums.
Yeah, it's a museum as well made.
They make a lemon pie. They make furniture, and they have beautiful clothing.
Yeah.
The witnesses might not like that you're making competition here.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about Pixie. Probably knows about this group too. There's been the Shakers. They disappeared. They went through the 5 stages of collapse. How about the Millerites? Oh my goodness, the Millerites. Well, that was an apocalyptic movement from which actually the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Seventh-day Adventists, well, they originally evolved from the Millerites. They had a radical prophecy, though. If you remember William Miller, he was actually prophesying that Jesus would return in 1844. And it was known as the Great Disappointment because Jesus never appeared in 1844. So the central movement of the Millerites suffered immediate institutional collapse, shattering its chaotic, disorganized factions. So just patterns here, friends. What I'm trying to show the audience here tonight is, when we talked about the stages of collapse, don't sit there and say, well, the Watchtower is never going to collapse. They got so much money and they got people who will always remain loyal. Well, these people had loyal followers too, the Millerites, the Shakers. So, I'm just saying to you tonight, you don't have to believe everything I said tonight, but I have to tell you this. You just hope and even pray that this organization doesn't continue on. It's hurt so many people, and really, its day of reckoning is on the horizon. Any last comments before we show? Go ahead. Yep.
I was just going to say, Rick.
The summer convention.
Oh, hold on,
was
Pixie.
on, and I watched it,
Pixie, hold on 1 second. Let's give this brother a shot. Then we'll bring you in. Go ahead,
Okay.
brother. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think they care if it collapses. It's a win-win for them. They've got all the titles to the Kingdom Halls, and, they're going to win no matter what. And it's like they're almost, the way it's set up now, it's almost set up, so they can dismantle. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. I had another thought. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think I knew what you were going to say. I think I'm reading your mind, Dan. I really do. I think what you were going to say, you were the one that first brought up deconstructing. Not deconstructing. You brought up a designed collapse. I forget the term what did you call it? I forget what you called it, but in other words, a collapse is deliberately taking place. The Watchtower is trying to collapse itself. Then they can sell off all the Kingdom Halls and collect the money.
Oh, Rick.
Dan, I think that's what you're probably thinking. I don't know. I think so. Good. We get another brother on here. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, Rick. This is Peter Vasquez. We spoke about a year ago. There was just to change the subject, and I apologize that I'm going to talk about something else. But there's a movie that I saw in Tubi. It's called The Children's Act. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
What is it called?
It's called The Children's Act. The Children's Act.
Children. No, not children, but children. Okay.
No, The Children's Act.
All right.
It was about Jehovah's Witnesses and the blood transfusion. It was a movie, 2017. It was done in England, and it's about a young man who wanted to die with a blood transfusion, refusing blood transfusion, and the courts got involved with it. It's an amazing movie, and accidentally saw it on Tubi. So I just wanted to suggest people to see that movie and see what the results were from the court's point of view. And the young man decided to become independent and make his own decision and stepped away from Jehovah's Witnesses. But I won't give the ending because it's amazing. But I just wanted to tell people the Children's Act. It's on Tubi. I don't know if you ever heard of Tubi.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yes. So it's called the Children's Act. I highly suggest it. I've seen it 3 times, and it has a major star in there, and it was filmed in England. The courts gave it such an outstanding ending. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's good talking to you because I haven't talked to you in a year.
Well, thank you. Thank you for chiming back in with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Well, no, thank you, guys. Thank you for all you've done, Rick. You always do a wonderful job, and I really appreciate listening to you.
Well, you're a good man. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. Thank you. Well,
thank you.
I really like Brother Vasquez's phrase. He chose to become independent when the person in the film saved their own life.
Yeah, well, that's. Did you see the movie, Pixie?
Yeah, it's a British film.
Yeah,
and it's a good film. I watched the summer convention. I zoomed through it so you all don't have to. And it's got the first day has a Jesus segment where they show some of the new Jesus film and they talk about the mercy and compassion of Jesus. That's wonderful. I've never heard that in a Kingdom Hall or convention setting quite to that amount. So that's great. But then the next segment, they have the Last Judgment all messed up again. And again, they have the blood doctrine. So I'm not going back.
So would it be safe to say in that segment there and about Jesus that there is a change in direction? They're putting some attention on Jesus?
Yes, it was about their Jesus movie, which is in different parts. And this was Jesus with compassion and mercy. And they really stressed those words and those qualities. And, that's a good thing. Everyone needs to know that that's key to reading the Bible and understanding Christianity. But I don't know that that's going to save them, because when we look at the Savior and we look at the Jesus story, there's so many other flavors out there that kind of do it better. So I kind of see it as, they changed my cold cream and I don't like it as well as the cold cream they were selling me that they've made for 100 years.
Well, I'll tell you, Pix, in fact, I know you come forth here many times with books and movies and you keep up on a lot of this stuff. And thank you for at least throwing your thoughts in here tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you, Pixie.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Sam.
I remembered what I was going to say. It's almost like, too, along with the witnesses, it's like the day of the mega churches is gone. I mean, where's the Billy Graham massive crusades over in Africa? Where did all that go? I even saw a video online the other day saying that it's the end of the mega churches because a lot of people are going to church online. Even your spiritual people like Ramana Maharshi, people over in India, people aren't going to visit them anymore. They can see, they don't have all that attention. Even a lot of the spiritual communities collapsed. Even big mega churches, I knew several mega churches that were down to nothing after COVID. And when a lot of the prosperity stuff ended in 2008, when that big crash hit, a lot of people fled those churches. But I think the days of the big mega churches, I got to tell you, when we moved to Boise, nobody even knew who Billy Graham was. Billy Graham died, and Angela had a conversion or something with that. I don't know what happened. But anyway, we moved here, and in Denver, everywhere you went, they had stacks of CDs, DVD. I don't know what the hell they are, but they had tons everywhere you went to Costco, Walmart. There was all this, this is the, so many years of Billy Graham. And we came here to Idaho. Not one person knew we went, not one music store, not one Barnes and Noble knew who Billy Graham was.
Wait a minute.
Who's Billy Graham?
Wow.
You're saying there's a place on earth in the United States where people don't know Billy Graham.
That's right, actually.
Even I know Billy Graham.
Yeah, I know, me too. Angela went to one of his big conventions and saw him and everything and had a big, I guess, born again moment. But anyway, long story short, I'm telling you, we went around because we wanted that anniversary tape. We wanted that tape of his. He did a final rendition and it was a beautiful thing for his funeral, but nobody knew him. Nobody here. I'm telling you, we went everywhere to try to find it. And we're like, are you kidding me? It was like being in a whole other world. But anyway, I just want to say,
I think they had a
say. It seems like the end of the mega churches. It seems like those big people are just too educated, too smart. Everybody's thinking now, Anyway, that's it, guys.
Hey,
I think as far as that's concerned, I think there's a lot of new age stuff and people are looking in other areas for spirituality.
Yes, and a lot of the big New Agers place that I went was like Science of Mind, Unity, and them. A lot of them are really hurting. They never recovered after 2000. There's still, when they go online, there's like 3 people, like Unity Boulder. I mean, that used to be huge. Mile High, Church Religious Science. Basically, it was empty. The guy playing the piano had to do the practitioner work. They had thousands of practitioners that did prayer treatments for people, and it was completely defeated. And I called, I said, Ken Robinshroud, I said, what are you doing? What are you doing practitioner work? And he's like, there's nobody here. And still there's a third full. So I don't know, Zachary, I know, but I think you're right. People are exploring, but
and a lot of the new age and new thought stuff doesn't require you go to a church. It does allow for individuality.
Right.
Exactly.
A lot of the new age stuff, the medical establishment, the real university hospitals have looked into things like meditation or herbal or fungus, mushrooms was on 60 Minutes to help for PTSD. Some of those experimental thinkings have gone into the mainstream medicine if they worked. And a lot of the grooviness of the new age is just kind of Ren Fair now.
Well, anyways, I want to thank everyone for coming in tonight. I just wanted to let people know there'll be no 6 Screen Sunday tomorrow. That will be next Sunday, where we get into the theological discussions. I'm sorry, did you want to say something? All right. Anyways, I want to let people know that when this program, JW World News, is over shortly, we leave the phone lines on. So if there's anybody out there that wants to speak up without things being recorded, it's not live on YouTube or Facebook. But if you'd like to meet some new friends, by all means, stay in for what we call the after party program. And you can join that. The telephone number is scrolling across the bottom of Facebook and YouTube right now. So if you want to come in and speak up, that's good. If you just want to listen to others, this is where they let their hair down. They're normal people. They might not even get into a lot of Watchtower discussion, but just things that go on in their normal life once they left the religion. So by all means, join the after party program.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is so wonderful.
Who is this?
I called in earlier, Rick.
Oh yes, right.
I did. I called in earlier. That's amazing. Again, this community needs an outlet for people to talk. So I think that's amazing. Let's go in and get into our nitty gritties of all things.
Oh yeah. Well, this after party you can speak. It's not being recorded, so you don't have to worry. It's so you can just kind of speak to the people if you feel like that. Coming up next, yeah.
That's amazing. I really want to, as we end the show, I know you got to get off. I just really want to thank you. And again, this community that is it makes my heart so happy when you have been shunned your life or go through that kind of things as a kid, and the fear, guilt, obligation, the whole thing. This group is amazing. This is why we're here. This is why it is comforting. And yeah, stay along so we can all chat.
You got it. Well, thank you, sister. Thank you very much. I got you now. You were the one that called up with the sister with the napkin on the head, right?
Yes, I did. Yes.
See, so, so there you go.
You guys are all amazing.
Oh, well, thank
Yep,
you. Thank
got
you.
plenty of stories.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Well, anyways, I want to thank you all.
Real
Those
quick,
six. You want to say something?
really
Well,
quick.
go ahead.
Really quick, it's Emma Thompson is the star of the movie, the Children's Act.
Yeah.
Okay. Emma Thompson.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Is that a man or a woman? Oh, it's a woman.
It's a woman.
All right.
That movie was really disturbing for, yeah, as far as the whole blood thing. And now that they've changed it, like mine.
Well, yeah.
I like that they showed the judge's point of view, how it was impacting the judge to have to address the situation. That was phenomenal because we think judges are just people, you know, that wear a black robe, but she had so much heart in that movie that she went above and beyond, and it was just, I think we need to know both sides of the story, how it impacts everyone. Excellent movie. And
that
very
movie,
disturbing,
that is one.
Very sad.
Oh man, yeah. And as a paralegal, watching that movie was heartbreaking for me. As an ex- it was just awful. But it is good for I mean, because it really shows the struggles that the families go through, that the legal system goes through. So I mean, it was actually, like, I would say, right in the zone of like bad things. So
Well, thanks for sharing that. In fact, it got me wanting to see the movie now. Susan and I will probably watch it together. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming in tonight. Like I say, no, it's 6 Screen Sunny, but you're probably noticing a different set here. Susan and I are on the road. We're at a hotel out here in the Chicago area, but that's why you see the difference. But we'll be back next Saturday night up in Massachusetts, and we're looking forward to it. Next Saturday night, of course, we're going to have Anne Marie. She'll be coming on at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with her Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower program. So, friends, I want you all to keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up, or out. And the last one leaving the Watchtower, by all means, turn off the new light. We'll see you next week. The after party's up next. If you're on the telephone line, grab that number before it goes off on YouTube. Join the conversation tonight. I think you'll find it very, very fascinating. Thank you for wanting to spend a Saturday night with us right here at the 6 Screens. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Good night, Rick.
Good night.
After party. That was so nice to hear Rick share that about his family.